I just know you're going to love the guests that we have on in this episode, so don't go away. Welcome to the interview. I'm Dr. Rick Waj, and we have a very dear friend of Israel TV Network. She's been just amazing. She and what I call the girls from Faith Fused Fitness. And this is Tricia McGuire. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. It's as we film this, we've just had Christmas 2021. We're just about to start a brand new year.
Yes.
I have no idea what that's going to look like. How about you?
I'm kind of up in the air on that too. Great expectations, but a little bit more of just simplifying my life and things like that. Taking my time and making decisions. I get excited and kind of jump the boat and get in, and I guess a little bit like Peter sometimes, right? And so I am.
You think his whole thing was because he wasn't focused? I don't know what it was.
Yeah, I don't know either, but yeah, I seem to do that a little bit too and get super excited and sometimes jump in before I think. And so I'm looking forward to just listening to the Holy Spirit a little bit more each day and what that's going to be like.
As we are filming this, right before actually you came to the studio, I had to give an idea of what's going on in the world, which you can relate to. I had a friend of the studio send me a message saying that they were just landing in Ephesus.
Oh, wow.
They had planned on going to Israel, but it's completely locked down. Now,
Jeez.
think about what that must do to the tourists who are paying for a trip to Israel and maybe some other parts of the Holy Land. Now they can't go.
Yeah,
As far as I know, people aren't getting reimbursed for this by the airlines or anything
no,
else. So
probably not.
what a mess. So it's
Yeah.
a great time for me, my opinion, it's a great time to be home.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah, there's security in that and knowing that you are at home and
Okay, let's talk about Faith Fused Fitness. I
Okay.
just tell people FFF, and they're like,
What is
are
that?
you cussing at me? It's like, no, I'm not. Actually, just a long word, Faith Fused Fitness. What's that all about?
Well, Faith Fused Fitness was actually, I guess, legally founded in March of 2019, but it's been in my heart probably now for 12 years or so. I'm a fitness professional, I guess you say that, and I also teach sports science, exercise sports science at university level. But so it is kind of, what I do, I guess, is what you would call it. But what I've seen in through fitness and teaching fitness classes, training people, is there is this disconnect between the spiritual element and the mental, spiritual, emotional even side of fitness and your body and taking care of your body.
Yes.
And it's compartmentalized, and I just don't believe that's at all what God intended. He created us, and even references in 1 Thessalonians, spirit, soul, and body. And so he wants us whole as a complete whole person. And we can't find our identity in anything but him. And so you hear the cliche of, your weight doesn't matter, and you should love yourself for who you are. And all those things are true. I mean, for sure. But when we start to see ourselves the way God sees us, which we'll never quite grasp here on earth, I believe, that we're just incapable of it. But if we could do that even enough to understand that even though we're not worthy, we're worthy through him. And then we start to honor our bodies a little bit better and want to take care of them better with food, with drink, with exercise, just healthy habits. And then we find that we're just a healthier person all the way around. And that's really what we're all about, is providing that type of atmosphere. Basically our mission is rooted so that all of our classes and every program that we do are rooted in God's love. And if we can't have that come out in what
Yes.
we're doing, then it's just not, we're not riding on our purpose and vision of what we're doing. And granted, we're not perfect. We don't have it figured out. And so I think that's what I love about working with you guys, and some of the things we've done here is that we don't feel that pressure to have a perfect session or taping. And I've had to learn to be okay with that too. Like, hey, I kind of fell over in this video, and that's going to be okay, because that's what happens in life. And I don't have to have this perfect scenario to minister to people through movement. And so we just try to tie in the scripture and really embed it, and hopefully have it come to life in a new way through movement, and tying those in together just to have to honor God and worship Him.
Yeah, and I think there's real balance in what you and the other girls have done. I think that when people have this false notion of what their identity should be instead of what it truly is, then they shoot for perfection.
Yeah.
And we can't arrive at that in this life. We can do our best, and we should always do our best, but I mean, and I think you and I are a lot alike in that area, that we always want to do our best, and that's great. I think that's right. But we always know we come a little bit short of what the ideal would be.
Yeah.
And I think that's good to model that, because then people can accept themselves for who they are, and that they don't have to be perfect
Correct.
to still serve the kingdom and serve God and love God.
Yeah. And what happens with that, if we still have that in our head, that we have to have this perfection or performance driven type love or acceptance, then we are constantly set up for failure.
Yes.
And then it is a cycle. Then there's guilt, there's shame.
Yes.
And that's ammunition for the devil.
Yes.
He loves it. He loves
Yes.
it when we do that to ourselves.
Yes.
And
I would even say that our spirituality, this is just one example, you can use many, but as an illustration, but our spirituality could be like an antenna. And so when we're looking at guilt and shame and doubt and a lack of respect for ourselves, it's like shortening the antenna, so we don't hear as well.
Oh yeah,
It makes it very difficult, because there's so much static going on. We talk about noise. Now I've got to think about this. It's the source versus the noise in your life. And so signal versus noise. And so when you have a low signal, but you have a lot of noise, that's the doubt, that's the fears, that's the self-condemnation, the other people saying you can't do it.
Right.
You're hearing the noise, and it's hard to hear the source. And the source, of course, in this example, is God.
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's a great way to put it. And I think oftentimes we self-sabotage ourselves. It's that fear of failure. And so if I can just avoid it, stay busy, or drown myself in other things to not feel, then you can just not have to confront the issues of, hey, God accepts you for the way you are. Jesus died for you, and let's not steal that gift from Him that He gave to us.
And when you avoid dealing with those issues in your life that are there, when you avoid them, you never deal with them completely or at all, and you don't reach the optimum goal that God has for your life and your identity.
Absolutely. I mean, you're sabotaging again your purpose.
Yes.
And again, that gives the devil ammunition. And how often can we blame the devil for things? We blame him, but really, idealistically, what we're doing is setting him up. We're just giving him the ammo every time that we say bad things about ourselves, or receive what people say about us, or not, like, I'm not having a bad day. What can I do about this? Can I go, sink myself into negative things, or can I do something positive to overcome this ammunition that I have somehow fueled him with? And so doing our part is key. God is there for us. He never leaves us or forsakes us, but we do still have to do our part. The relationship has to be both ways, and people do need to take care of their bodies, and they do need to honor them. And do I have it all down? Absolutely not. but I'm willing to step out in
Yes.
faith and try to minister to people because I know what I've been through,
Mm-hmm.
and whatever you've been through, you've all heard is, your mess is his message. We've heard all the sayings like that. And so you got to take your hurt and go help someone.
Yes.
So, trying to live up to a size or to a personification that is set in this world or by somebody that supposedly may love you is not
They're gonna have their
not the
own-
motivation that you should be having. It's
Right.
honoring God in everything
Yes.
we do.
Yeah, and his insights, directions, instructions, limits that he imposes upon us, some limits that he won't let us go past because it's going to be so bad for us.
Yes.
So he gives us these instructions. We say laws, like the
Mhm.
Torah is all law, but it's not, it's instruction, like
Yes.
from a father to children.
Yes.
And so when we follow those instructions, we find that we have the best path to have the most optimum life.
Yes.
And we're still going to make mistakes. We're still going to fail. We're still going to have diseases. We're going to still struggle with things mentally, psychologically, relationally, of course. But when we, as you were saying, when we look at other people's idea of who we should be, we are going down the wrong path and we are no longer following true north.
That's good. True north is good. And I like that. And that's hard to, again, stay on. The wind blows.
Yes.
Things happen. You become blinded. You're hurt. You're angry, whatever it may be, and you
Yes.
get off course. And that's very easy to do, especially in this day and time, but just as a human being, it definitely is. And who wants to look at themselves and say, hey, this is where I need to be better. This is where I may be making some mistakes. And, but if we just submit ourselves to him, he sets us free.
Yes.
He's promised that. And it may hurt for a while, but what you're doing in feeding the devil ammunition is worse hurt. And
Yes.
so if you can confront your issues. And so we try to do a little bit that with movement. And one of the series that we're just, we've just finished here was the well body workout. And so that's something I've been passionate about, is connecting that spirit, soul and body, and how that a lot of times, specifically chronic diseases and things like that, are linked to the fact that we don't care enough about ourselves. You can blame it on genetics. You may even call that a generational curse, whatever you want to do with that. But we can break those, and God gives us the power to do that with His Word and just being obedient.
Yes.
Obedience versus disobedience. And it's not a ditch. It's not legalistic. It's all
Right.
about a relationship.
Yes.
And so you have to and just be open to enveloping that relationship with him. And what we try to do is tie in the spiritual, emotional, and mental strongholds that may be something you're aware or not aware of that is in your life. And so you go up for healing about diabetes, but do you go home and change your lifestyle?
Right.
And so God will heal you of the diabetes, but he also might just heal you by making some lifestyle choices and
Yes.
changes. And so even if he did miraculously just heal you of that, you still have to make those choices
Right.
when you go back home.
For an example, Jesus raised Lazarus. Where is he now? He still died.
Yes, he did.
There's still the physical
Yes.
aspect of who we are. We have limitations.
Yes.
And so unless you're one of the miraculous like Enoch,
Yeah.
you're going to probably pass away unless the Lord comes first.
Yes.
And knowing the times we live in, I
Very
wouldn't
well
put it
could
back.
be. Yeah.
Exactly.
I'm all for it. So.
Okay, so I want to talk more about your show and I want to give an example. So we're going to show you a 1-minute clip from one of these spectacular shows that combines both the physical with the spiritual in a wonderful way. So we'll see you when we come back.
Welcome. My name is Tricia, and I'm with Faith Fused Fitness. We're a nonprofit ministry that offer multidimensional fitness programs rooted in God's love. Multidimensional means we see that God created us with a spirit, soul, and a body. Our programs address each of these areas to empower ourselves to glorify God. So we're adventuring on a well body workout series, and we're so glad you're here to be a part of that with us. Our first focus when we go through this will be all about focusing on the spirit and really making sure we get spiritual nutrition so that we can be empowered through the Spirit. And then it translates through our soul, our mind, and then becomes evident in our body.
Okay, Tricia, we're back. Tricia McGuire with Faith Fused Fitness. And if they wanted to find you online, other than watching your shows on Israel TV Network, they could go to faithfusedfitness.com. Great, wonderful.
And
okay, you saw the little clip that we just pulled, and that happened to be you. What were you doing in this, and talk to us about this?
Okay, so specifically, I'd mentioned before we took our break, and you watched that, was that we addressed different issues, and specifically this one was chronic disease, and so that entails, one I mentioned, diabetes, high blood pressure, even cancer, and so there's several things that fit in that category, and a lot of that is based on the root issues of not having self-love. And so if we don't love ourselves, then we don't take care of ourselves. I'm not talking about a false, what I'm trying to say is like a false idol of loving yourself. I'm not talking replacement of, Christ's love for ourselves. I'm talking about understanding how much Christ loves us and the sacrifice he made and how much God loved us to send his son to do this, and the love he has for us, and how the truth of that, the Bible tells us the truth sets us free. And so what we have to do is spend enough time with him and be vulnerable enough with him to be able to step out of this self-hatred we may have for ourselves, no matter where the root comes from, because
childhood, peers,
whatever it is,
societal pressures,
yes, or the generational curses per se. You're just going to be diabetic.
Yes.
You're just going to be that way. That's something that we have to rise above and say, okay, so what is a part of loving yourself? So God's, Jesus said, the commandments as far as, Jesus in the New Testament said to love God, and I'm putting it in a paraphrase, love people. But he also says, as you do yourself.
Exactly.
How many of us really do love ourselves?
Right.
And that's difficult if we don't love ourselves to go love other people, because if all you're expected to do is love them as much as you love yourself, well, some of us don't have to put much effort into it. Right. So, and again, it's not about cutting people out of your life and I'm all about me. It's not selfishness. It's all about receiving God's love and understanding how amazing that is. And once you continue to do that and he delivers you day by day by day in a consistent, just like exercise is always about consistency. And we have the new year coming up, it's just a lot of people that just sets them up for failure, the pressure of that. It's the consistency. It's the same with our relationship. All of us know if we don't stay consistent in our relationships, whether it's a spouse or children or friends, there's a gap in there. And you may always love them, but there's a gap in there. And so in order for you to heal your body, you have to take care of it. And doing that requires receiving the love and approval that Christ has for you.
And that may be extremely hard for some people who didn't experience much love in their own households.
True.
And the Bible says in Proverbs, raise up a child in the way they will go, and they will not depart from it. Literally, they will not depart from it. So it's very difficult for folks who've grown up in dysfunctional homes, home of origin issues that they're dealing with, to be able to break out of that. And I would say that you can find freedom, as Tricia was saying. You may fight against this, but instead of it being the picture that you're looking at, the portrait you're looking at, it may just be the frame. It may be the background that you see in a blur. It may be they're gnawing at you just a little tiny bit that you have to fight against, but it'll be clear that you are, and your relationship with God and your identity in Christ is the focus, not the baggage that you've been brought up with. And that is so important. And the reason I bring that up about it being a blur still is because some folks feel that once they've come to Christ, all the troubles go away. And we know that's not the case. but they're put in the proper perspective. And that's the point.
I think that's key when you just saying that proper perspective. And so that's what we try to do with our fitness programs, put them in the proper perspective. It's not about, again, performance, how well I can perform.
Yes.
It's, how fit am I, all the way to just, again, turning it into something as a time of worship.
Yes.
I'm so thankful I can move. Oh God, thank you that I can move. And I want to worship you and thank you for that. And I want to honor my body and wherever and whatever
Yes.
it looks like,
Yes.
so that it can stay healthy, so that because I am still here, there is still a purpose for me. And so I want to fulfill that purpose. And if I'm sidetracked by, me constantly self-sabotaging things, or having, every time something does happen, it may be just a spiral for you for depression.
Yes.
We have workouts on depression. That's easy to do. I'm not downplaying that at all. That's easy to do. And so it's not something that I would ever minimize, that dark hole.
Yes.
And so, but God is light. And if we can let him shine on every area of our lives, not just on, the days that we choose, it is something that we constantly have to awaken ourselves and say, God, I choose you first
Yes.
today. I don't feel like it. And I don't feel like
Right.
working out, and I don't feel like eating
Yes.
right. And I don't feel like, not doing my typical 3 glasses of wine tonight. I'm not downing that, but why are you doing it?
Right.
It
If
is,
it's to
everybody's got their
mask the
choice.
pain,
Yeah. And if
And
it's,
that's the wrong reason.
if
for
it becomes
doing
a false god for any of us, or a substitute for what the
Yes.
Holy Spirit and Christ living in us is, then we're going down the wrong road.
Yes.
And so, again, I don't have it all figured out. I'm just trying to follow what I believe God's led me personally to do. And I've been through my own things just like everyone else. And I'm somebody who can take things to a ditch real easy. I'm all in or I'm all out. And so trying to find that in between, that's constantly just laying myself down in a way I can daily to say, God, am I going to do this workout so I, can get on the scale tomorrow and feel good about myself? Or am I
Right.
going to do this workout so that I'm knowing that I'm honoring you in this time? And so,
And having served in the ministry so many years, I would say that growth, maybe I'll be so bold, growth only happens when you walk down the rough road.
it's true. Yeah.
When everything is great and wonderful, yeah, it's fun, it's enjoyable, it's exciting, but it doesn't mean there's growth happening.
Well, and that's awesome, because that parallels great with, exercise, because if you don't stress the body enough, do an overload principle to that, then your body doesn't grow and become more healthy. And so that parallel is perfect, because if things are just comfortable and we try to keep them comfortable, I'm okay with me right now, I don't want to rock the boat, then that's okay maybe for a season. Maybe God has you resting for a time, but there has to be some resistance for growth and maturity. And so I feel like that's something, again, is key for what we're trying to do, but keeping them out of those compartments that here's my fitness time,
Right.
here's my reading time,
Right.
here's my praise time. They all go together, and constantly educating yourself and allowing the word to saturate you and be able to become the best you that God has planned for
Yes.
you. And my thing, which was great, and I guess I'm going to throw this in if you don't mind, but I remember talking to my parents, because they're older, and what is the one thing that you want to, when it comes time for you to go on to be with Jesus, what is the one thing that you want to, be okay with? And what's the peace that would bring you? And they had their own scenarios and what they said. And I just felt God just hit me. And I was like, I want more than anything when I see him in pass is that he says, well done, good and faithful servant.
Mhm.
I mean, I thought, that just radiated in me. And I was like, that just put me on fire, because I was like, that's what I want. Now, do I get it right every day? No, but it was just so exciting to me to think that I really want that. It wasn't just a cliche saying, and it went off in me. And so I feel like if we can think that way each day, that we could lay our head down. And then the problem is what I just said, I'm not going to get it all right. You have to let go of the things
Yes.
that came at you that day, the things you did wrong,
Yes.
and or that you perceive you did
Mhm.
wrong, and you have to receive that grace,
Right.
and you have to be able to do that.
The Lord spoke to me many, many years ago when I was young in the ministry, and He said, anybody can make mistakes, but it takes a real person of strength and courage to get back up.
Yeah.
And that's true no matter what you're going through in life. You're going to make mistakes. You've made mistakes. That just means you've joined the company of the whole human race. Every single saint who's gone to be with the Lord, who's changed the world, no matter whether it was Mother Teresa, Billy Graham, the Apostle Paul, they've all made mistakes. They get back up again and they push forward for the kingdom. We've got about less than 2 minutes. What would you like to tell people about how they can find you, about what you've got coming up they
Okay.
might want to sign up for? Go ahead.
Okay, so logistically, we're in Amarillo, Texas, and so as far as that, we offer some free classes here. We try to offer our fitness for free. We are a nonprofit, and so we run completely on sponsorships and donations. So we have an annual fundraiser, and so that event will be coming up in April, and I believe you'll have Jessie on later for that in the season. She can talk more about that, but we have a website, as was mentioned, faithfusedfitness.com. It is a .com, but the fused is a Z. And so that's key to remember as you type that in.
It'll be on the lower third.
Yeah. And then also we have a YouTube channel and social media type options for you. You can go in and do playlists and workouts through the website or just going to our YouTube channel. And then obviously we have through your network, we have I guess a little reservoir where you put our things and you can get to us through them. And then you also can email us faithfusedfitness@gmail.com. And if you have questions or want to get in touch with us, we do trainings for people to teach and become professionals, or we call warriors. And we just love you to be a part of what we do in our ministry, no matter where you're at, and just let God love you as you move. That's the key part. So
They're doing a fantastic job. So if you're watching their shows, whether video on demand or they're live shows that are going on the network, think about giving to them. They're a 501c3. That means that you can get a tax write-off. And these days, we want to get everything we can back from the government. So if you're
Yes.
in the United States, maybe you're in another country, you can still give. And it's really a good ministry. ITV and Israel TV Network is fully behind you. Thank you
Appreciate
for
you
all you
guys.
do, Tricia, and thank you for Faith Fused Fitness and being a part of this team.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for watching the interview. We love you. We appreciate you. And we're almost to a brand new year. You may be watching this in 2022. If you are, just remember you can give to faithfusedfitness.com, a worthy organization doing a great job. See you next time.